What's up, everybody? I wanted to stop and shoot a quick video and give an update on our garden. It's July 4th, 2017 right now, and we're in Oklahoma in Zone 7. So this is the start of our garden here. This is an area I built for my wife, Carrie, and these are all sunflowers that have come up from the bird feeder here. So we just put sunflower seeds in here, and then they drop down and come up naturally. So it's a pretty cool little area. We have a ton of birds over here, and we sleep right there on the other side of that window, so those birds wake us up every morning. So it's pretty cool to have that here. Over here is another little area that I built for her that has moonflowers and morning glories on the front here, and then scarlet runner beans along the back. I have not done a good job of keeping up with this, and Bermuda grew up here through here, so I'm in the process of laying down cardboard, pulling out the Bermuda, and then I'm going to mulch it heavily, and hopefully that'll keep the Bermuda out. And I'm going to plant some daylilies in the middle as well for her. So over here I have another one of the sunflower areas. So we had a bird feeder hanging there where this one is now. But, we had a different bird feeder, obviously, because that's a hummingbird feeder. And the sunflowers just come up naturally from there. So going into the garden from here, we have our strawberry bed, and this is one of our raised beds that's on legs. I built them a couple years ago so that these beds up against the fence would still get sun in the winter, because this fence shades it out, casts a shadow from October to February roughly. So these ones up on legs allow it to receive sun all the time. The problem though is that they heat up quicker in the summer, and they go through some pretty dramatic temperature changes in the winter as well, because the air gets below and it's not insulated from the earth. So right now I've got one of my hinged hoop house covers on it. It doesn't have anything over it right now. I need to add some shade cloth or something like that. But they're doing okay. So this is actually an experiment. I'm trying to see how well they do without any type of covering, and if they start to show signs of the heat getting them or the cold getting them in the winter, then I'll cover them. And I probably will go ahead and cover them once we get temperatures below freezing consistently. So this is one of the kids' beds here that is just full of random flowers they've planted, and it's got some weed issues coming through, but we need to clean this one up. We're just so busy with the rest of the garden right now that there's really no time for it. We've got the broccoli, or one of our broccoli plants here next to lavender, and we're harvesting this broccoli nearly every day for stir fries and broccoli and cheese. And we harvest these side shoots all the way down, and they're delicious. We're eating them pretty much every day right now. This is one of the kids' beds again here, and it's not doing too well. They learned one of their first lessons about gardening, about what happens whenever you so this is their cabbage here, and my cabbage, one of them's there, but another one is over on this side, and they were planted at the same time. But the only difference is that mine were fertilized with fish fertilizer, and mine were watered consistently. So I use this as a way to teach them about gardening and about what happens if you don't take care of things. So we're about to clean this bed up and start another round of things for the fall. And we've got this irrigation grid built for them now too. So I've got a zone marked for them. So we'll set up the watering to go on a schedule, and hopefully it'll go better. So this area was where our garlic was, and I'm going to be planting southern peas in all through here. I'm not sure what this is actually. It came up on its own. I think it's some sort of melon. But I'm not sure. So I'll find out what that is pretty soon. It's starting to get to the point where it's going to have a female flower soon. Over here in this bed we have a squash plant. Daphne's been over here hunting for squash eggs, and she just found some right there. So that tells me that there are squash bugs on this plant. So I'm going to pull those eggs off with just some drier, sticky lint roll tape, the stuff they use like in the laundry room, and then I'll go through and hunt for squash bugs through this plant. So I've got another video that shows how I hunt for squash bugs. There are certain things you can do to make it easier, so I will link to that in the description of this video so that you can see that if you're interested. My tomato wall is not looking good. This is the area that got herbicide sprayed on it on the other side of this fence. about a month ago now, and I had to prune them heavily because most of the leaves were twisted and curled and just showing definite signs of herbicide injury. So the newer ones are looking better, but it's still they've got battered. And next year I'm doing tomatoes completely different. I'm done with this whole single stem pruning method of growing tomatoes. I know for some people it works well, but I just don't have the patience for it. I'm not a very good job. I don't do a very good job with trellising tomatoes when I need to. I just get busy and forget about it. And so what I'm going to do next year, I guess it's next year at this point, is with my tomatoes, I'm going to use these cages. I'm not sure how well you can see this, but now the mistake I made on this tomato is that I planted an indeterminate variety in this cage, and it's already getting out of control. So next year I'm going to plant only determinate and semi-determinate varieties and I'm also going to ask the people that I know that have been doing this their whole life about what varieties they grow and what varieties they like best, and I'm gonna try theirs next year. This year I went with the ones that did well last year, but last year I trellised different, and with the way I'm trellising now, it just makes more sense to get the ones that are determinate and semi-determinate that don't get any taller than 5 feet. That way they'll never outgrow that trellis and that little cage, and I'll make the cages a little bit wider than the one there. I have a cage over here that doesn't have anything in it, so you can see what I'm talking about. So it's just a circular wire cage, and I'm going to make them a little bit bigger, and I'll just have those scattered all throughout here, but I'm going to put them away from this fence. That way, if I'm not able to get the herbicide issue resolved, I can have something like corn over here that doesn't necessarily get affected by it as much. So in this bed here, I've got squash, and I harvested all the zucchini this morning, so I don't think I have any in here to show. Got bell peppers here, a different variety of squash. All the other zucchini I've grown this far has been the Black Beauty variety, and this was a different one that I tried. I'm not sure how to say that, but there's the word. And I have some new varieties that I just got that are from Korea that are supposed to be more resistant to squash vine borers. So I need to get those planted. That's one of the things I plan to do today, is go through and fill every empty spot I have in the garden with southern peas, and then another round of these squash from Korea. And the reason why these squash from Korea are cool is that it's the stems at the bottom of the base where it connects into the soil. So right down here, instead of it being hollow here to where the squash vine borers can insert their eggs into there, it's a solid stem, so they're not able to do that. Now farther up the plant it becomes hollow, but this is generally where the squash vine borers like to go. So they're supposed to be much more resistant to those, so I'm going to try switching to those with my next round of squash. I've got the seeds inside. I've just been waiting on some rain and some time to do it. So we got an inch of rain last night, so it seems like the right time. So this bed is a mix of squash here, squash there, the peppers, some beans in through here, okra, some more squash, and then over here in this bed I have my catnip plant that draws in a ton of pollinators. There are always bees on this plant here. And I've got a cabbage head here, onions kind of scattered throughout, and this is a bed that I was trying an experiment on. So I'm growing alfalfa and clover intermixed through this bed as a cover crop alongside everything else. I've seen some other people try it, and I wanted to try it for myself to see how it goes. So I'm still harvesting things out of here, but the cabbage definitely did really well. The cilantro that we had in here did well. The broccoli has done really well. These onions, I haven't really pulled as many yet. I'm kind of letting them sit. So I wanted to have a stash of onions later in the season, and these are essentially mulched, from the cover crop. So they haven't really gone to flower, at least not all of them yet. So over here I've mostly harvested the cabbage from here. I've got one cabbage that's been eaten by bugs quite a bit, so I'm saving that for the rabbit. And I've got cucumber coming on the back wall over here, some red Russian kale here, and if you eat it now it'll taste really bitter. So we're just letting it hold on until the winter, and whenever the temperatures come down and it starts to freeze a little bit, this will sweeten up and it'll taste a lot better. So for now we just pull off leaves and feed it to the rabbit and keep it healthy and happy, and then in the winter that'll be doing really well. So I have more spaces through here that I'll be filling in with southern peas, and I probably don't have room here for squash, but anywhere else I have room for squash, I'll do that. I have more squash back here, some pineapple sage, some pole beans that have been growing up this pole structure I had set up. The first time I've used this, I wasn't really sure how well it was going to work, but I kind of like how it's turned out. So I've got another squash plant back here, and then one more here. One mistake that I've made though is I've learned I'm not going to plant squash in this back corner. Again, it's just too much of a pain to get back here and harvest it, to get around all this stuff that's growing out. So I'm going to have corn or something else in this back bed from here on out. So coming over here, I guess I forgot to show this over here. I've got loofah plants that are growing here. So this is my first time growing a loofah, but I saw it at the Cleveland County Master Garden, their demonstration garden down in Norman last year, and it was really cool. And they produce these edible fruits that you can also use as loofahs, so sponges for whatever you want to use them for. So, and they grow up over this trellis. And I think that's what I'm going to start doing with these trellises. Instead of using these for tomatoes and pruning the tomatoes heavily, I'm going to grow things that are better suited for this, like a loofah or something like that. Pole beans, things that don't produce quite as many vines, that require as much management. So moving back over here, I've got a bed here full of cucumbers in the corner back here, and I've got some herbs through here, some rosemary and some thyme and some oregano, pole beans along the back fence here, including this really cool variety of bean that I tried for the first time here that's a foot long here. So these are really cool, and Mary has loved playing with them. She treats them like they're baby dolls, just carries them around the house. So over here we have some more cabbage here, some more peppers through here, and then this is all New Zealand spinach that's sprouting. So I'll go back and check the timestamp on that last video I shot when I was planting this, but it's finally starting to come up. So it takes a while to get going, but all we have on the New Zealand spinach right now is stuff over here. And although we're definitely eating on it, I'd like to have a whole lot more of it. So on this one we also have peppers, more poblano and jalapeno peppers here. I had some tomato disease issues in this bed here, so I pulled the tomato and I'll be planting something else in here. I think I like doing these peppers in these smart pots. I haven't really had good success with the tomatoes, but I definitely have liked doing the peppers in here, and these beans are doing okay. And I've had some chives here. So I'm not sure what I'm going to plant on this fence here, on this other smart pot. And I was doing this experiment where I had a smart pot that was buried with wood chips up to the side versus one that wasn't. And I still am not quite sure how much of a difference it makes. Mostly because they're not the same size either. This one's a little bit smaller there than this one. So the jury is still out on that one. What else have I not shown? So over here, the back side of that cucumber wall that I've shown, and on this side we're just letting the vines kind of go out everywhere, and it's kind of a cool area for the kids to come over and play. This is a waterfall fountain that broke. I've been trying to fix for a couple years now, and I finally gave up on it. So I put it out here, and it has a leak, but it works fine as just an area for birds to come get water from, and bees and dragonflies and all those other beneficial insects. So I haven't noticed any mosquito issues. I check in here, and if I notice that there's mosquito larvae that's starting to develop, I'll use the BTI, the dunks that you can put in there to help with that. But so far, the water gets used up quick enough that there's no time for mosquito larvae to develop. So over here I have the sweet potato bed with the sunflowers in the middle. So the sweet potatoes are doing really well. We've been eating the greens quite a bit, throwing them in burritos and salads. This, along with New Zealand spinach, are the only greens that we have right now. Now, I did hear about a variety of lettuce this morning called the Nevada variety that's supposed to do well in heat. So I'm going to see if I can get that and try some of it before the summer's over, because I'd like to have more greens. And also Malabar spinach I know I planted it somewhere, but I'm still waiting for it to come up, and I forgot where I planted it. So this is another squash plant here. Some volunteer tomatoes that I've done nothing to. I haven't touched them at all. and you can see they're doing better than any of the tomatoes over there, but also they're on the opposite side of where the herbicide was. So these are blackberries through here. You can see one of them there. Over here, this bed is pretty much not being used for anything that we're actively eating. It's all just the lettuce, the kale, and the spinach that was left over from the spring. The spinach and the lettuce is all gone by now. The lettuce has gone to seed and then gone to flower. You can see that here. And I'm going to let that in to draw in pollinators and just to promote life around the garden. It's better than chopping this all down and letting it sit. So, and I'm just waiting for I'm waiting for the temperatures to cool back down, and then this will be another area where we have more of the spinach, kale, and lettuce. So I have some onions that are in over here too that haven't quite bolted yet. You see some of the onions have gone to flower there. And then over here is the Three Sisters bed. So the corn is going pretty well. The beans are climbing. Cucumber beetle there. So I guess I need to put another one of my cucumber beetle traps over here, which I'll go show that as well. I have a separate video that details everything about these cucumber beetle traps, but I want to go ahead and show it so you know what I'm talking about when I say that. They're these yellow solo cups that have sticky glue all around the outside and the inside of the cup. And I'm trying a couple different ways of attracting cucumber beetles to it. So I've got, on this one, for example, I've got clove essential oil on a cotton swab in there, and there's two cucumber beetles just right there, but they're attracted to that. I've also got I think that's a cucumber there that I went ahead and put in there, and also cucumber flowers that I've put on the ones on the backside over there to try and lure them in, and they definitely work. I've also got these sticky yellow cards around, which haven't worked near as well as the ones that have the oils as attractants, but I need to put out more because you can see I've still got cucumber beetles kind of throughout here. So I need to get those under control for sure. So coming back over to this bed now. This is just the Three Sisters throughout. And then along the back, I do have comfrey all along the back. And what comfrey does is it sends roots way down where most plants can't get to. And it pulls all the nutrients up from there. So what I do is I take the leaves and I throw them in my compost, and I use them to make a tea that I use to put on my plants. So I'll leave that comfrey alone until I harvest the corn and everything out of this bed, and then whenever I do that, I'll chop all of the comfrey down and then use it in the compost from then on. So through here we also have squash in the front here, and again I just harvested. You can see one small one here that I left on, but we have zucchini all through here. So over here we have our compost bins, and this compost was all started back last fall, mostly from pumpkins and fall leaves and coffee grounds and eggshells and food scraps and organic matter from the garden. I have a video that details how we make our compost, so I'll link to that down in the description as well. But those are our compost bins, and here's our finished compost here that we've been pulling. I need to get a lot more material, and I'm counting on this bed giving it to me whenever this corn is done and I pull that comfrey. That's going to be a lot of material to start my next compost batch with. And I'm excited to add that comfrey into the mix because I've read a lot of really good things about how well it can improve the process. So this is another one of our shade gardens over here. That was lettuce, spinach, and kale, and the spinach all went to seed and dropped back down, and then the kale is still like the kale on the other side. It's bitter now, so we don't eat it much. We just give it to the rabbit, and then we're waiting for it to sweeten up. So what I'm going to be doing with this area now is taking some of the smart pots that I have and putting them along here, and then we still have a lot of seed potatoes that I never got around to planting from the spring. So, and they're starting to sprout, and they're going to go bad if I don't use them. So I'm going to do an experiment and see if it's possible to grow potatoes over here if I keep them watered to keep the temperatures down, and if I keep them mulched and keep some covering over them. I'm gonna experiment and see what happens, because they're going to go to waste if I don't do anything with them. So here I have the bush beans that are producing a ton right now. You can see all through here. So we're harvesting beans for either lunch or dinner nearly daily, and we're sauteing them with onions, and I do peppers in mine as well, and garlic, and it just tastes incredible. So we'll have a blog post up really soon showing how we cook this stuff, and we're really focusing on writing a lot more blog posts and shooting videos showing how we cook all this, because whenever we first started in the garden, we grew a lot of stuff, but we had no idea what to do with it, and a lot of it got wasted because we didn't necessarily like it. And that is why Carrie has found so many recipes about how to use all of this stuff. And zucchini, she has 20 different ways to make zucchini, it seems. So definitely go to our website and check that stuff out. Over here we have our worm bin, and I just built it out of recycled pallets that I found. And you can see in here, it's just our kitchen scraps that we throw in here, and shredded paper that doesn't have a lot of dyes on it, and eggshells, and just all sorts of stuff. And then the worms eat it and turn it into one of the best plant foods you can have. So we go through and harvest these a couple times a year, mostly whenever we plant a new round of stuff. So I'll be harvesting some of them soon whenever I plant these southern peas throughout the garden, because I use them to mulch the area that I plant on seeds, or if I transplant, I put them at the bottom of the hole. So let me know in the comments if there's something that I showed that you'd like me to go into more detail about, and I may have another video on it, or if not, I can record a new one. So I do all this because I want to help people out and show that it's possible to grow your own food and to take control of your food supply and to live healthier and eat healthier in the process. So we're at the point now to where we are eating pretty much almost every meal out of this garden, and it's a wonderful feeling, and it makes you feel just incredibly healthy, and it gives you energy. I mean, I've never felt better physically than whenever I eat the stuff out of the garden. So, and it's nice because right now we have so many different things to eat, and we have so many different options and so many different ways to cook it. So again, go to our website, www.seedtospoon.net, and check out Carrie's blog post where she shows how we cook all of this, and check out all of our other videos where we show how we grow all of this and how we manage pests and how we do this all organically and economically and sustainably, because that's, we do all this because we want to feed ourselves, and we don't want to be dependent upon chemicals and chemical fertilizers and pesticides just because. I don't want to get into the whole debate about it, but I don't believe that's the way I should be doing it. So whenever we started, I wanted to do it the organic way, and we've had good success with it. So I do this because I want to show that it is possible. You don't have to spend a lot of money in order to grow food. Yes, we had an upfront investment whenever we built all of this, but I did it as cheap as I could. A lot of this wood was salvaged from construction sites. It was recycled pallets that I used. The soil, a lot of it was homemade compost or stuff that I got from local facilities. The compost facility that I use that as a base to make my own. These wood chips all throughout the garden were all free. These were all from the City of Norman compost facility, and I've got a foot layer of wood chips all through here, and that's made it to where we don't really have to deal with Bermuda issues and weed issues much at all throughout the garden. It's also allowed it to where the soil around the garden is starting to become really nice as well. So we're going to start planting directly in it on the back side of these trellises. So anyway, I just wanted to shoot a quick update and show how things are going for us now, and just to show that you can do this. If you want to start growing food and you want to take control of your food supply, it is possible. We did all of this in 2 years, and that's not to brag at all. That's just to say that I just want to inspire you, to tell you you can do it. Whenever we started, I knew nothing about gardening at all. I had tried to grow a couple tomatoes a long time ago, and the dandelions got taller than they did. I mean, they died on me. So whenever we started this, I knew that it was something that I needed to take serious and something I needed to research and learn everything I could about. And I dedicated pretty much all of my free time and all of my insomnia time to reading and writing about all of this stuff. And now I do this because I want to show everyone that it's possible to grow your own food, and that the benefits from it are just, I can't even describe how much my life has changed from growing my own food and eating the stuff that I grow. I feel so much more, I have so much more energy. I've had so many other issues that have been helped by this. I wrote a blog post back in June that kind of talks about everything about why I do all of this and how we got to here. go to www.seedtospoon.net to see that blog post, and it talks about why I do all this and why growing food is so important to me and why it's so important for me personally to eat, the things that I grow. So anyway, thanks for watching, and again, let me know if there's something that you want to see more of, and I will go into more details in another video. So thanks for watching.